for me, I immediately started a new Instagram account and a new TikTok account when I started creating this stuff. Not necessarily, I guess, honestly, it was to so no one that I knew would see it. But I wasn't hiding. I think I just didn't. I knew that it would stop me. I knew that if everyone I knew in my life was already following me, that would stop me from being more like myself. And so it wasn't until I created a new account completely on both profiles when I started posting more unapologetically. And then at this point, a lot of people in my life have found me or know what I'm up to. And at this point, I no longer care.
Yeah, me
And
too.
so it worked out for me in that regard. But a couple other mindset things I have for just getting over the cringe or just putting yourself out there is like, I think a lot about like getting lucky because like people say like success, or I don't know what the quote is, something about like success is the intersection of like being lucky and being prepared for that
Right.
luck or something like
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense.
And so like you can't control the luck factor, but you can increase the likelihood of luck by putting yourself out there. So
Yeah.
like um you can't expect to get that once in a lifetime luck if you're literally sitting in your bedroom doing nothing, not putting yourself out there at all, not talking to anyone, not like planting those seeds in different networks or different whatever it is, right? And so for me, I could base my whole start on luck because I was first discovered, like I was first recruited for a freelance job um, off of my profile on Upwork. Like I just put
Oh,
myself up on Upwork.
cool.
Upwork. I said, I'll edit your videos for you, your short form videos, and I just let it sit there. Didn't do anything with it because I put it up there so that I could get a job for the summer, and then I ended up getting a job for the summer, so I didn't need it anymore. But it was just up there publicly. Someone found me, reached out to me, asked me to be their editor, and the rest is history. Like that's how it started. And it wouldn't
Great.
have happened if I hadn't just like put that up online. And so I think for starting out, like it can be small, but just like you kind of have to identify with whatever it is you want to do before you're doing it and like go from there. Plant the seed. Tell someone random. Go to a networking event and tell someone random who you are as if you are that, and maybe they will have a connection for you. Like you never know. So, yeah,
Hmm.
that's how
Yeah,
I
that's
think about
another underlying thing that keeps coming up too is just show up like you've already done it. Show up like it's already yours. And that hands into like the spirituality part of it and just universe part of it, but also like it so makes sense for your brain, like because your brain will create those neural pathways and like believe what you're continue to tell it. So you can't be battling between I want to be this person and I am this person. It's like the more that you can tell yourself, and it's normal to like not feel that way. But I love that you just said, like, go tell somebody random or whatever. And
it. Hmm.
like back to what we were saying before, some people really say, don't tell them what you're doing, just show them when you're successful. So I think whatever works best for you, I can see how
Yeah,
both would work for you. And yeah, I think also like we were talking about nobody sees the cringe really like you were mentioning about videos like if your video doesn't get a lot of views like who cares like nobody saw it then.
hmm.
So I think the
Yeah,
same thing happens like you're applying for jobs behind the scenes or you're doing these other things behind the scenes like you're doing the work but one day you'll get that job and it'll look like you just got it. So you have to think that's what other people are doing too. Like it can really seem like even just looking at you, I'm like, cool, you're doing what you want and now you have all these followers. Like, but there was work behind that. There was
hmm,
serious decision making. There was questioning and worrying and putting in a lot of effort. So it's just, you got to remind yourself of that because when we're worried about the cringe, we're worried about what people are thinking. And yeah, it really can put you down the wrong path. So if you have that right mindset, it really changes everything. I'm just looking at all my
totally.
notes. I have so many notes.
Yeah. No,
um,
to add on to that, I was
yeah.
just literally right before this podcast, I was listening to Colin and Samir's podcast, and they were saying like people only know what you put out, like especially online. Like people only see the stuff that you actually put out. And first of all, yeah, if you're not getting views, like, and you're flopping, literally no one saw that. Like, that's the point. Like, there's literally no views on that video. No one saw that video, so it's not embarrassing. And if someone's going to the extent to look at your profile and see the number of views and think that is embarrassing, then they care more than you do, right? So that's how I think about flopping. But anyways, back to Colin and Smear. They were saying like they only know what you've put out, and to your point, there is so much behind the scenes that goes on that most people don't see. And like it's crazy because now I talk to so many creators and I hear their thought process, their planning, their dreams, their like everything that goes behind the scenes. And then at the end of the day, they only put out like one tiny little nugget of it. And I don't know exactly what my point there was, but just knowing that like there is so much thought, even for the most successful creators, like there's so much thought and overthinking probably that happens before the point where like you're just putting out a lot. So give
Right.
yourself grace if it's been like years and you haven't put anything out, because that was me for the longest time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really a good point because it really all comes down to just feeling confident in yourself. And for whatever reason, we just need that like security almost that we're not the only ones. Like there's other people that are struggling or there's other people that did this first. I don't know if you read the nonfiction books or listen to the podcasts. I'm sure you do. You just said you listen to a podcast. So there's all of these habits for success and routines like the 5 a.m. club and all of that stuff. Do you find that there's things not related to content creation or your job that you do that helps set you up for success?
Um, that's a great question because I like am such a productivity nerd. Like I love thinking about it and
Great.
workflows and whatever. But that doesn't but I also don't really have like I don't have a good answer because I think I'm still trying to figure out like especially as a creator without a 9 to 5 or without like a school schedule. Routine has been definitely something that I've been like struggling with or just trying to figure out for myself. But when it comes to content creation, the best tips that I have in terms of productivity is like number one, reduce all friction to creating. So when you think about how much energy or how many obstacles there are between you going from like coming up with an idea to actually executing on that idea, and then once you have footage, how many steps it takes for you to edit that footage, how many steps it takes for you to post that footage. Think about all of that and try to reduce as many obstacles as possible. For example, your own mindset, right? Saying like, you know what, I don't look good enough today to film anything. Is that an excuse? Is that true?
Right.
Like, is it genuinely a necessary thought you need to have? Or is it something you can take away? One thing I did for a while was if I had that excuse for myself about like, oh, I don't have makeup on, I can't film right now, let me wait. I literally would put
Mhm.
my makeup next to me and a mirror. I had no excuse. If I came up with an idea and I like needed to film it, I would have zero excuse because I would be at my desk and there would be makeup right next to me. So yeah, definitely reducing friction and also being aware of like your environment throughout the day, and even just figuring out, and it'll take experimentation, but figuring out where you're most comfortable talking. Like one thing for me, if there's people in the other room or like there's people that can potentially hear me, just naturally I will talk in a more hush hush way or like be less like quote unquote cringe. And like you can either learn to let go of that or put yourself in environments where there is no one around. So like if you have access to a car, highly recommend starting out posting stuff in your car, because obviously not driving, but like um your car is like a perfect sound box where literally no one can hear you. There's great lighting, there's great sound quality. And you can just test out who you are as a person when you're there. So I recommend that for sure. But yeah, just being in tune with your environment.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's really honest because I feel like a lot of people feel like they need to share, like, oh, I get up at 5 a.m. and I write my gratitude list. Like, those are things that I try and do. Well, not the 5 a.m. thing. I have a 1 year old, so I will sleep. But
Mhm.
I do believe in a lot of things. I'm sure you do too, like the gratitude list and the journaling and um, the meditating. Like, all of those things are valid and obviously make a difference, but it's hard to actually stick to those things all the time. Like I like to say, instead of missing a day or missing a Monday, try not to miss 2 days in a row. Instead of like
Mhm.
skipping something altogether, like work on 1% improvements every day. Like that's what I kind of said for July. Like it was July 1st. You just take tiny, tiny steps every day. And then by August, you'll see an actual improvement, regardless of what it is. So we're kind of getting into content creation a little more. Do you mind like talking a little bit more about that if I have some questions?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So do you think that anybody can be a content creator?
Absolutely. I think everyone can like everyone can be a content creator in whatever that means to them. Um and also in whatever strengths they have, right? If you're more like tuned to writing and you don't want to show your face or you don't want to talk, like, okay, great. There's Twitter, there's newsletters, there's blog, like there's so many things you can do. And yeah, I guess the answer is yes. Like it doesn't matter who you are. I think you can definitely be a content creator.
Yeah, what Tess says again, she needs to listen to this because we're like referring to her. But she likes to say that influencing and being a content creator, like in the general sense, as far as like Instagram or being like somebody who posts videos, it's the best time to do it, even though it feels like maybe it's oversaturated. It's the best time because you're using your personality as your niche. Like, and that's the reason that people will follow you is who you are. So that is exactly how I feel that anybody can be a content creator. And yeah, like I've been a writer and I've done like a lot of different things, social media. And I just found like what I want to do most is this podcast and videos. So I think it's worth like experimenting in what kind of thing because like you said, so many people have that creative bone, like they want to be
Mm-hmm.
creative and it's totally fine. Like do it on the side, like start a new Instagram so people don't find you right away like you did. Like if you are listening and you are just interested in doing it, I believe that what you have in your gut, like what your thought is, you are meant to do it or and if not then you'll make it work like you said.
Yeah.
So and I also like the reducing friction and kind of making it work and on like the basic level, and that's why people need like strategists like you because those things sound so obvious but it's much easier to like um kind of diagnose those things from an outside perspective and you just kind of make it really um, specific and tangible. So so I'm just going to kind of ask you some specific questions and unspecific questions. So do you think that as a content creator you're expected to put out a certain amount of content? Like, do you think that somebody could be like, oh, well, I want to do it, but I can't commit to like this many posts? Like, what is your strategy on that? Because I think everybody is different. It's like all coaches, they're like 5 times a day or 2 times a day or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I'd say like if you want if a following is a thing that matters to you, right? I feel like you can also be a content creator who's just putting out their work onto the internet because they
Right.
want to and they're already creating. But if you're becoming a content creator to develop a following and grow a community around you, and that's important to you, then I think consistency is important. And it's a matter of choosing a frequency that you can actually sustain. So I think you can't just do once a week on something like TikTok. Maybe on YouTube
Right.
you can,
Yeah.
but on something like TikTok, I think of consistency as like just showing up. You have to show up enough for people to like actually remember you, right? Like it takes a couple of days or a couple of touch points before people actually process that you are a human being. Um, and so like the way I thought about it for the longest time was like like there was a time where I was like, okay, I want to do like 3 posts a day or something, but that's really intimidating. Like that